Any law that is assented to by the president and different from that is enacted and passed by the National Assembly is definitely a constitutional sabotage. Is definitely not a law that ought to be binding on citizens, and definitely that is not the spirit and the intent of the Nigerian Constitution. So definitely, it's when the what is passed by National Assembly is the spirit and the content of what was passed by the National Assembly is different from that which is assented to by the president or gazetted, as the case may be, then definitely it is not. It cannot be perceived as a binding law on citizens of Nigeria.
Well, it does seem we're seeing a pattern here, first with the tax law and now with the Electoral Act. In your view, do the disputes over the tax law and the electoral law suggest procedural lapses, or is it a deliberate manipulation?
Recent occurrences has shown that the National Assembly is seriously struggling with internal coherence and weak institution and weak democratic and institution, because there's a trajectory here where given the tax law, look at the brouhaha, the so much issues that arose during the tax law and how the National Assembly has made effort to bury it and not address the issue as it is. So let's go to the tax law and how the National Assembly has attempted to bury it. The people, the citizens are saying that the content of what was passed by the National Assembly is different from the content gazetted by from the content that was gazetted by the clerk of National Assembly. The National Assembly comes out to say it is releasing a CTC of what it passed into law. That is an indictment indirectly saying that, okay, what we pass is different from what was gazetted. That means the fault is not ours. The fault is wherever the fault is. But something the people and those who are defending this, something that cannot be defended, what they forget is that the Gazette, as it is a special legal instrument. It's an instrument of public notice to the whole world. This means that what is gazetted is taken as a notice to the world. That means that it is what, when we look at the legal principle that, a law, when a law is made, it is only binding on ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Okay, that's a better word for it. So ignorance of the law is not an excuse, but there are exceptions. So what are these exceptions? The exception is one, a law made, validly made, must be gazetted. By gazetting, it is taken as that it has become public notice to the whole world. So nobody can come out to say it is he or she is ignorant of the law. So what now happens when what is gazetted is different from what is passed by National Assembly? Or even worse, there are two conflicting gazettes in circulation. That means that there cannot be two public notice of the same gazetted laws for the same set of gazetted laws. The liability of Nigerians cannot be said to be fixed or certain in that particular instance. So going back to your question, the various issues that has come to fore recently has clearly shown that National Assembly is seriously struggling with internal coherence, as the case may be. So going to these electoral acts now, I think Nigerians should be concerned in the sense that what Nigerians want is a mandatory provision that compels INEC through whatever language it wants to use, transmission, transfer, to compel INEC and its staff to transmit result or transfer result, whichever word, to the IRF portal. Maintaining the content of the present Electoral Act, maintaining the content as it is, shows that the National Assembly is gradually losing touch with what Nigerians want, or with what majority of Nigerians want. We have seen the serious issues that arose by trusting the discretion of INEC in the last election. We have seen how INEC came out to prevaricate, saying one thing in one breath, which Nigerians relied on, which parties relied on, which electorate relied on, and even those who are contestant, they relied on, breaching the legitimate expectation of practically the whole country. We have seen how INEC practically said one thing and on the day of the election did another thing entirely. This is a breach of trust. So what the National Assembly is doing, apart from their own, now notorious internal incoherence, what the National Assembly is doing is that it is not learning from the lessons of the previous election. It is not learning from the betrayal of trust of citizens, the betrayal of contestants and voters in the last election, where INEC said one thing and did another thing. National Assembly is going ahead to again give INEC discretion in the matter of in the matter of transmission of election result. We have seen some persons come out from the National Assembly to try and clarify issues, but when you delineate their effort at clarification, you still have to appreciate the fact that they're just trying to obfuscate issues and confuse issues. What it all boils down to is that the National Assembly failed woefully this time around again to make mandatory the provision that compels INEC to compulsorily transmit electoral results. That is just the long and short. And all these efforts to clarify, all these efforts, it even goes further to show the internal coherence of the National Assembly as we are presently experiencing. So Nigerians should be worried. In the space of less than 2 months, serious, major, foundational incoherence has emerged from the National Assembly. Yes. Nigerians should be worried. Nigerians should make efforts to, hold their representative accountable as practically what they passed in regards to this electoral transmission of electronic transmission of results is not, depicting what Nigerians want.